Welcome back to the Ad Project Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Maarja Hewitt, and I am joined today with Ad Advance's own Erik Swenson, the VP of Operations. Erik, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You have not been in this hot seat yet.
No, it's been a long time.
I finally got you.
I was in a dungeon room where we did this before, and I'm happy to be here.
We've moved up in the world.
Yes,
you know.
Looks like you have.
Our podcast room was kind of a dungeon before, but it did the job.
Yeah.
The value was there.
Of course.
So share a little bit about who you are, what you do at Ad Advance.
Yeah, I'm the, like you said, VP of Operations and oversee our operational teams and things that take place on a day-to-day. So I work with all of our account managers that work with all of our accounts. And so, just ensuring that clients' immediate needs and long-term goals are met and strategically planned out. It definitely presents itself with a wide variety of challenges and exciting days. But, it's just very rewarding.
I don't think I've ever seen you have a slow day. So we switch desks in the office every month, and sometimes I get to sit next to Erik, which I'm very excited about. But then I take on an additional role of being Erik's keeper because everybody wants Erik. Nobody really cares about me.
Stop.
Just that marketing chick. But everybody, they have questions, they need to go to Erik because he always has the answer or, has ways to think through it. So there's people just lining up at his desk, and if he's gone, they're like, where's Erik? And I got to keep track of his schedule, let him know when he'll be back. So I call him the VIP of the office because everybody's always looking for Erik. Always got to find Erik.
Well, I appreciate that. We need you as well.
Like...
It is fun sitting next to you.
I was not fishing for that.
I know. It's the truth.
Thank you.
You do help keep things light, but I know it's very busy. There aren't a lot of slow days, but that's the e-commerce retail media network we live in, right? It doesn't sleep, so somebody's always going to have a question about something, and I know what it was like to be in their shoes and rely on somebody for help and an answer, and I'm happy I'm able to provide that for them.
You're a great go-to person, so happy to have you back on the Ad Project. Hopefully the first of many episodes.
I think it will be.
And today, just to give you a little high level of what we're going to go over, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Maybe you did some shopping. This is obviously our industry's big time of the year, Q4. And even though we still call it Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we all know that it's so much more than that. You still have those namesake holidays, but it's getting longer and longer. It's really all of November and December. So we're going to talk about what this year looked like, what we've seen in the past, what we expect in the future, and also what we see is changing, particularly with AI and how that changes the holiday shopping season. So even though we're hearing and seeing all these major headlines about record sales, like Adobe Analytics just released numbers 11.8 billion Black Friday, which is $1 billion more than 2024, and then 14.25 billion on Cyber Monday, which another extra billion from 2024. So record sales.
Did you memorize that?
No, I did not. Actually, I think I could have remembered it because I just read it. Ask me in 10 minutes, though, it'd be way out my brain. Record sales. However, I feel like we'll talk about the numbers, but it felt softer. Did you buy anything Black Friday, Cyber Monday, like big fun purchases at all?
Not on Black Friday or Cyber Monday. What we're going to talk about is how it started early, right?
Yeah.
Like the shopping season it doesn't feel like it falls on those quote-unquote normal days. I miss those holidays being like those bigger days when you went to the store, but right now everything is so convenient for us and the deals start earlier. So, my shopping took place much earlier.
Yeah, we'll never go back to that time. Yeah, you remember like the early 2010, that time?
Well, we were all fighting over 50-inch flat screen TVs.
Which, I mean, we don't need to go back to that. I think I'm looking back on it fondly.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. It was awesome. There was a lot of excitement.
But yeah, it's very different now. And a lot of it, when we talk about those Adobe Analytics numbers, a lot of that came from online. I think retail brick and mortar did not see the same lift.
Sure.
So the e-commerce side of things made up a lot of that big boost this year.
I would imagine so.
So obviously this year, however, this year was different, but really not that different from last year. I think last year was one of the first years we saw like that full extension into November. So that certainly is something that I think is just going to be something we see continue. November, even end of October, you start seeing these deals.
Yeah, I think you'd say it started a trend now, right? Like, no, we experienced a lot of the same things last year. Now we just learned from it and can likely expect the same going forward.
I like to pull a calendar for like all major retailers in November. So Amazon, Walmart, Target, Best Buy, Ulta Beauty, and just kind of map out all of the deals. I did that last year and this year, and they actually looked pretty similar. So, last year kind of the big storyline was like, oh, the holiday season is extending. I think that's kind of the new norm because that's what we saw this year. And even Amazon's deals, they kind of were very comparable in sense of length. So they started a week early with Deal Week, and then you had your like namesake Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So I do think that is the new norm. Also, there was some messaging around like holiday deals all season from retailers. So even the messaging itself was taking that focus away from those Black Friday, Cyber Monday days.
Yeah, it trains your brain to think a bit differently with just what that messaging is. And by the way, shout out, thank you for putting that calendar together. The team appreciates it.
Oh, thank you.
So having one single place to go for what all those dates are going to be, because more and more people, more and more retailers are jumping on board, right, to be offering deals because they see their competition doing it. But yeah, now when you see the messaging, it's not so much about waiting for Black Friday. It's, deal week, deal month. And like you said, even like the tail end of October is when a lot of things started as well.
Yeah, I put that calendar together, not for work, but also as a shopper myself. It's very helpful to take a look and see when the deals are coming because I want the best price. So I shop around.
I think people will remember this part of the podcast and reach out next year for it.
Yeah, for that calendar.
Yeah.
So let's take a look. Well, we won't take a look. We will take a look and we will share the data that we pulled. So we're recording this just a few days after Cyber Monday. So obviously there's still some attribution that could come into play. But what we did was pull aggregate data from our client base and took a look at sponsored product ad data. So we're looking at like sales, spend, impressions, conversion rate, kind of those typical metrics. And we're just looking at sponsored products, which obviously is just one ad type, but for many brands, that's about 80% of your budget or your sales spend based on your strategy. So that's basically how we're looking at things. We also, I know many brands like to look year over year. So how does this Black Friday compare to Black Friday performance in 2024? On an aggregate level, it's very hard for us to do that just because our client mix has changed. So for us to look year over year, it's tough to compare just because our numbers are going to be different. So for our analysis, we're looking variance over a November average. So like what sort of lift did our aggregate data see in terms of those metrics on those deal days? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the way that you put that together is helpful. It's probably the most accurate way we can try to look at it, considering that there's those variables at play.
Yeah. And every client's different. And we'll talk about this a little later. Like, there's just so many different stories of success where some people can really make Black Friday, their best day of the year, or some people it's, maybe just a little bit above average. So looking at it at this level hopefully gives us kind of like a general consensus, but again, there's always so many outliers. So what we did is look at the 2-week average, first 2-week average of November, and then that first week of deals. So for Amazon, It started the 20th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the deals.
Yeah, the deal started the 20th. And then they went through Thanksgiving, and then obviously there's Black Friday. And I think one thing we were surprised by was Thanksgiving was not as soft as it, usually you're thinking people are filling in on turkey and watching football.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can reminisce like you were before, where people were, going to the gas station to get the newspaper in the morning so they could see all the ads. Well, now it's right in front of them on their devices.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the shopping didn't need to wait till the next day. It takes off on Thanksgiving. So that was different than what we had seen in the past. Like you said there, I was surprised to see sales stay strong when typically it's a higher traffic day, more window shopping, people thinking the deal is going to be different on Black Friday and maybe getting a different deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can talk about different ways that they know that deal is going to stay the same and whatnot as well too. Yeah.
Yeah. So for that first week of deals, we saw impressions jump about 24%, and conversion rate also jumped a little bit. So, I feel like in the past we would have thought that was more of a window shopping time. But people were converting and were purchasing. And I think that's kind of the narrative that we're going to see in the future, is that people aren't necessarily waiting. They're going to just purchase when they see a deal.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking about an example where everybody's getting together for Thanksgiving, and does your family do Secret Santa or anything like that? I mean, if you got paired up with Aunt Bertha and you needed to get her something, and you're sitting next to the Thanksgiving table with her and you find out what she wants, why not just buy it right then, instead of waiting? So, yeah.
What'd you get Aunt Bertha?
I got some people some good things that I think that they're going to like.
Yeah.
I can't give it away. People are going to see this before it's going to ruin Christmas.
No offense to anybody named Bertha.
No.
I do love that, though. So that first week of deals, a healthy little lift. Black Friday, an increase in about 67% for traffic, which we would consider impressions, and 2x sales, so 105% increase in ad sales. And again, a healthy lift in conversion. That was the highest conversion rate we saw over the November shopping period, hit Black Friday. Saturday and Sunday, in between Black Friday, Cyber Monday, everything still saw a lift. It wasn't as substantial. Conversion rate went down a little bit. And then Cyber Monday, we saw our biggest lift in traffic with an 86% increase, though a dip in conversion rate. So we're not seeing those sales come through yet. Do you think that's more of an attribution thing?
I think it could be an attribution thing. There's those delays that always take place. I know we always talk about the psychology of this as well, and shopping trends. And if I think about it, the large lift in conversion rate that we saw on Black Friday, right? That's the people who decided to pull the trigger finally on that product. We have a large increase of traffic that comes to the platform on Cyber Monday. That's still the natural instinct that there's deals online on Cyber Monday, and I think that's where you then get the traffic. We'll likely see more of the sales posts. Like you said, this is sponsored product data, so attribution window that takes place there. I think that there's probably more to post.
And also, Cyber Monday isn't like the end of holiday shopping. December still sees, like, based on our analysis of past years, really healthy conversion rate.
Very strong. Yeah.
And you just kind of see an uptick in traffic that holds pretty steady until you hit those shipping cutoff dates. Yep. So if you take a look at this year, when Ad Advance is looking at how our clients' aggregate data looked this year compared to last year, we're also looking last year, what sort of lift they saw over Black Friday, Cyber Monday compared to the 2024 average. And so when we look at those lifts and comparing them, they're fairly similar from what we saw last year. I'd say one of the big differences would be that there were people more ready to purchase that first week this year than last year. Last year we saw an increase in traffic, but not necessarily people ready to purchase.
Yeah.
And this year that conversion rate kind of held steady.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of leads me to think that this is what we're going to be seeing moving forward, and consumers are becoming more conditioned
Yep.
to know that those deals fall well beyond just Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Yeah, you alluded to that in the very beginning, that we were going to get to this, that it feels like this is now the trend, that the deals are all throughout November. And they have tools at their disposal to kind of give them a heads up as well, too, that the deal is the deal, right? If it has that badge, it's not going to be just for one single day. It's going to be throughout that deal period. They're getting more accustomed to that, knowing that it's not going to change or it's not going to get better.
So before we get to like some things you saw, like what clients did that did well, maybe some good takeaways there. I think it's important to talk about like how some things were different this year, particularly with AI and how that's changing how consumers are shopping around the holidays. Like one big thing was like a week before Black Friday, Amazon rolled out a update for Rufus, which is their AI shopping assistant. And it included a price tracker. So price trackers are not new. There's plenty of like third-party tools where people can track the history of price. But now built in to the Amazon app or Amazon.com, it's at every shopper's fingertips to take a look at past price history. So you can look at 30 days or 90 days, and you can see if it's a real deal. Because I think consumers have been kind of catching on as of late that there can be tricks or, an illusion that it is a deal, but it really isn't a deal. And so great for consumers, maybe not so good for some brands.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I'm hearing more and more people that are acknowledging that general consumers just saying, wow, this is cool. I can see, what the previous prices have been, and this is the best price, or the price isn't, any different than how it's been. So I'm assuming it's not going to get any better, and can pull the trigger in that instance there. Then you also asked me, what did people do well? What did customers, clients do well to prep for this? I think they leaned into our instincts that from what we learned last year, that the shopping trends were more spread out instead of designated days. They took our expert advice to plan accordingly with their budgets. This wasn't us planning to schedule massive increases in budgets for just Black Friday and Cyber Monday like you used to see. It was, no, we're going to likely need to keep our foot on the gas over Thanksgiving and even the day before. So with those deals starting, like you said, on Amazon on the 20th and then across the other dates on the other retail channels, it was giving them a really solid plan to extend that budget or keep it elevated during those higher periods. And frankly, we just let the data tell the story. I mean, we look at the sales that are rolling in and they continue to stay steady, letting our clients know that they can afford to still efficiently spend over the course of those days. So thankful for everybody out there in that room there that keeps a close eye on all of those trends.
Yeah, and I mean, we do have wonderful account management where like communication is really key throughout those holiday events. And I know that's something that, comes top down from you. And we've been called out on it that, we communicate, and just a little pat on the back for your
Thank
team
you.
there.
Yeah, but it is true. We are in a very unique position that with all those wonderful people being in the same room, we communicate with each other all throughout the day on what we're seeing. We can put our heads together quicker to really identify, is this a theory? Is this an actual trend? All right, what does the data say? And when it comes down to a collection of all of that information, we can really do great things for our clients.
And then we can move really fast, too.
Yes.
So what number Black Friday in our space was this for you? Was this 6?
6 in Amazon, yep. So
you've gone through quite a few, including like COVID years. I remember one year we had supply chain issues, inventory. I think that was the year 2021, like after COVID. But how much has prep for the holiday season changed since 5 years ago?
I mean, again, it's identifying what has changed in the trends, shopping habits, it being more spread out now, instead of being dedicated to specific days. That that doesn't mean, that you're less attentive to it on those other days. It actually means we're more dialed in on what's going on individual days for those changes for our clients. Looking back at the previous years, it really still kind of comes down to the main things, and that's over communication with our clients. You kind of alluded to that. We love hearing that feedback, and it's honest and it's truthful. Like, we're sending multiple updates throughout the day on what's going on in their accounts, not only on just like Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It's all throughout the days leading up to that. They're sometimes hearing from us too much than some people would want, but if I was and what I try to do, right, is put ourselves in their shoes, and if that's the case, then I would want to hear from my ad partner more than not enough. And
it's easy to ignore an email if you have to. Yeah.
That just instills good, healthy, effective communication, a collaborative partnership. And so that's how we've grown as a team, is that it's really understanding what our clients' goals are and effectively communicating to them how the changes that we're putting in place to set up effective campaigns for the products that they're running deals on, and why we've set budgets the way we have, are in line with their main goals to grow.
I feel like one thing that has changed is we're obviously Amazon ads experts, but like the scope of your strategy for these shopping events, because it's extended, because it's not just Amazon, it needs to like reach beyond just what's in your account. So how do you like work with account managers, to make sure clients are like thinking beyond just what's happening in Amazon, because there's a lot of factors outside their control, or there can be elements of their strategy like on Meta or, other social that can contribute to their success on Amazon.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that, because I think I talk about that a lot with people in the office. And yes, we are very fortunate to be in the retail media space, but there are also social channels that play a massive role in the success for clients. And those that take advantage of it early enough to build the awareness, just like we've probably talked about on previous podcasts, the funnel, right? Getting in front of people, awareness, talking to the right audience, maybe somebody who's peeking down the aisle to look at your product but hasn't ever been exposed to it before. We know how to find those people really well based on their shopping habits. And so when we do that and can target them early on, those strategies paired with, a similar strategy on Meta or TikTok. I'm guilty of being on TikTok more than I should, not in the office, but at home on my personal time. I use it way too much, but I see these brands that we work with on the retail side of things also putting together massive campaigns on Meta to reach a colder audience, where we then have the benefit to strike them when they're warmer and get them to eventually come all the way down the sales funnel. It's a bulletproof strategy when you are utilizing social channels to drive people in, and then we grab them with an effective strategy on the bottom of funnel PPC side of things.
Huge impact.
Yes.
So just looking at this Black Friday, obviously we shared some aggregate data where we saw lifts a little less spiky, as I would say in a non-technical term, of those like huge lifts in traffic and conversion rate that we've seen in the past. But can you think of, you don't need to share like brands or clients or specific strategies, but like what were some things where clients really did well, brands really did well? What did they do in preparation and day of that set them up for the utmost success?
Sure. It's a combination of a couple things. I had kind of already alluded to the fact that they were utilizing social channels, but in order to use social channels, you have to have really solid creative. Creative isn't just designed overnight, although now with AI, they're making a lot more of that easier. But really strong creative that ties into exactly the shopper that they want to target, and blasting that out on the social channels. I mean, one brand we worked with, I was scrolling and it felt like every other 5-10 minutes I was seeing another one of their
They're
ads.
just following you around.
You could argue that I'm in the marketing space, right? So that I'm being targeted. But then I peeked over people's shoulders at Thanksgiving who were scrolling on Facebook and saw the same thing, that they were seeing the same people, And so it was interesting there. Creative was huge, putting a big strategy in place for that. We then marry it with utilizing those same creative assets through sponsor brand video and now sponsor product video when more of that gets some placement. And of course, display as well, too. Really helps kind of marry those ones together. So the strategy of utilizing multiple channels, tying it back to the retail side of things was really important. I'm sure there's some more.
What
I
about
could think
deals?
about too. Of course, yeah. That to me, I guess, because I didn't say it, was kind of a no-brainer, right?
I was going to say, we
And
could have a whole podcast about just the deal strategy and the impact of deals, because we usually do a deal versus no deal analysis, and every year we do it. It shows the impact of deals. People are looking for a price down for sure.
Absolutely. I shouldn't have just assumed that everybody knew that, right? But that it is great advice that if you want to be successful over these deal days, like running a deal has to absolutely take place. Consumers want to feel like they are getting something, right? And they're getting the deal. And we talked about the price history. And if they see that you're running a deal, but it's not really a deal, that's going to look poorly. And they're probably going to go look at a competitor's to see that, to make it feel like they're actually getting stuff. I mean, times are tough right now, or people may, feeling like the wallet is a little bit tighter. So they have to be cautious of that type of stuff. Everybody wants to have a good Christmas, or a good holidays for their loved ones and get them gifts. But of course, things feel more and more expensive now these days.
There's a lot of economic factors at play.
Yes.
Well, Erik, thank you so much for joining the ad project. Like I mentioned earlier, like Cyber Monday isn't like the end all be all here. We're just kind of in the middle of it.
Yeah,
so
I'll be here all month if you have more questions. So.
There you go. A ton of holiday shopping still ahead, and I'm sure we'll do a full roundup of the holiday season at the end of the year. And then even like Q1 for a lot of categories like supplements, that's their own Super Bowl time.
Big time.
There's always kind of those tentpole events in the future to be planning for and looking for, and a lot of the strategies you implement Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday shopping in general can be used for those tentpole events as well. So hopefully you found some good tidbits in this podcast, and Erik, we'll have you back soon.
I hope so. Thank you.
I have a whole list of topics for you,
Awesome.
so you will be back.
Thank you.
Be sure to follow us on YouTube. Check out our podcast page at advertisers.com, and tune in next time. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.